All right, as I'm putting the D+A on the shelf, the RDX75, just gonna do a quick one. That this is the original D+A Raider. It was 10 through 15 meters only, and of course 11 meters, which is actually what it was made for. 4-watt or less CB drive. No band switches, just power on off standby. BTL is bilateral, meaning a receive preamplifier. This one had, on off power light and tune and load. And load was a screwdriver adjustment, a small trimmer, which they all actually use, but some have a knob. So that's the original Raider. And then later they modified it with the ham bands and tried to sell it as a ham band amplifier. And as you can see, this originally had 10 through 40 meters in it. But other than that, it's the same amp with the power standby bilateral, with the receive preamp. They had other versions where they got rid of the bilateral, and some had the tube keying circuit. Later on they went with the transistor keying circuit. But the last they came up with, to get past the FCC, they changed it and called it a RDX75 20 meter CW transmitter. And they did that to get by the FCC again, because the FCC cracked down hard on any amplifier that would work on 10 or 11 meters. So they called it a 20 meter, and they added a oscillator tube and a crystal, and they added a couple turns to the coils, and they called it a 20 meter transmitter. And when it came with instructions, like if you're licensed and are can legally operate this on the 10 meter amateur band, you can convert it to 10 meters by bypassing a couple of turns in the coil and bypassing the oscillator tube, and just driving this thing directly with a 10 meter radio, 4-watt radio, and use it as an amplifier. It came with instructions on how to do that. So that was the latest version of the Raider with the RDX75. Same amp, they just did a few things to get past the FCC. And this here is, they called it an MDX-200, same thing. 20 meter CW amateur transmitter. But this is basically a Maverick 250. And a Maverick 250 had 4 small driver tubes, same that they used in the Raider. But then it drove 4 of the larger 6LQ6 tubes. So what they did to convert the Maverick 250 into this MDX is they took one of the driver tubes out, and they converted that driver tube into a pre-driver or oscillator tube. And again, you got the crystal that you put in, for 20 megahertz, and they added a couple turns, and they made it 20 megahertz only, or 20 meters, not megahertz, 20 meters only, and marketed it as a 20 meter transmitter. And it came with similar instructions, like to convert this over to a legal, if you're licensed, 10 meter transmitter, amplifier, bypass a couple turns in the plate tank circuit, and bypass the pre-driver tube that they converted over. And instead of the Maverick 250, which had 4 driving 4, this MDX 200 would have 3 of the smaller tubes driving 4 of the final tubes. And that's going to be it on this one. Some of my Makos and other useless junk laying around. And but that's all I wanted to show on this one. Have a good night. Bye.